Okay, so I've just been binging on the Second Paradigm podcast the last couple of days because there was like this huge opening and like thing that pulled me into it, and it's like all of a sudden all these things are landing. Like there was not space for them before, a place for them to land, but all of a sudden it's like something in me is just gobbling it up. But I had this massive like understanding about you and like what I get from you that I don't get from anyone else, because sometimes it baffles me. Like there are things that come out of me that don't come out of me in anyone else's space. It's just like this, there's something in you that like, it doesn't pull things out of me, but it like, there's just enough space for the fullest expansion of me, or the fullest expression of me, that these things cannot help but come to the surface. And I just realized, like, holy moly, like that's like, that gift is so much larger than I even realized it was at first glance, coming from people. Or like, there's so many people out there that are like, kind of like the high and mighty spiritual people, like manifestation people, like people who are really like supposedly in the pocket of like spiritual business and spiritual this and that and whatever, awakening and whatever. But there's something where they are not creating a space. They're creating a box for people. They're like inviting people into a box that already exists, that has boundaries on it. So those people can really only expand into the realm of possibility that those people have already set out for themselves. It's like the boundaries that they set aren't for the other people. It's like for the boundaries come from like their own, I don't know if it's ego or limitation or whatever. But the difference with you is that the space you hold, there are no boundaries on it. Like, you hold the space for the most expansive expression, like fullest expression of someone's being. And it's making me cry. I feel ridiculous sending this, but I'm going to send it anyway. But it's like, that is so different than what other people do. Radically. You have a space where someone can be like more than their wildest imagination or even your wildest imagination can understand. I just want to say, I feel so silly saying this, but it feels important that you do something way different that's like a gift beyond words, and like it is so fucking powerful.
In my head, in my mind, I'm all alone, stuck in time. But in my soul, I always know I
am home. Hello, and welcome back to the Second Paradigm podcast.
With us, David and Miriam.
Yep, that's us. We're in your ears.
Mm-hmm. Today we're talking about business have-tos and deprogramming.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about why we don't reprogram.
Anyone. Ever.
Yeah. Yeah, we're really not about strategies and systems. We're not about finding the latest trends and reprogramming them in the place of things. Yeah, because I think it gets to a point where if you can deprogram the body enough and really just give yourself permission to not do all of these things, then you begin to get to a place where you can listen to that soul truth. Yeah. And that's what we're about. So I think the majority of our work, we end up just kind of deprogramming all of the societal and evolutionary hardware and programming to then get to a place where you're free to be able to do what you actually know is here.
For sure.
Yeah. So anyway,
yeah, let's.
Where do you want to start? You wanted to start with the story?
Yeah, I wanted to start with the story.
Okay.
Story time. It's interesting. So if you like Chipotle, you'll appreciate this hack.
I love Chipotle.
David loves Chipotle. I love Chipotle too.
Oh, you want to talk about the Chipotle hack?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because it fits with programming.
Yeah, there's a few things we can talk about with the Chipotle hacks. Yeah, back when we were on a road trip in 2012, I'll tell this and then tell the latest hack.
Okay.
we would go, my brother and I were on this road trip, and we would go to Chipotle. And the thing about Chipotle is their burrito is all the same ingredients, right, as the burrito bowl. But the burrito bowl is it's like at least 150% bigger. It is definitely bigger than the contents of the burrito. So if you get a burrito, then you get the same thing. But if you get a burrito bowl, you can ask for tortillas on the side and they're free. So you end up getting way more for the exact same price. So that was the first Chipotle hack my brother and I learned way back in the day. We're like, this burrito bowl is gigantic. And
so
you can get tortillas on the side.
And then just ask for tortillas
We'd get a bowl
on the side.
and then, yeah. Because we were trying to live cheap on the road and whatnot, you know? So we would just get a burrito bowl and we'd go and split it. And it'd be about the same. They'd be like 80% burritos. But recently they came out with an app, right?
Yeah. So on the app, you can order everything you want. And
yeah, and you can choose like extras. You can choose up to 3 customizations. You can choose like extra fajitas. You can still go half and half on like the rice or the beans or whatever. You can do both beans. And then like half and half on meats and stuff. So you can customize different things.
David knows all the intricacies. I'm like, yeah, just order me whatever you're having. That feels easier. But it's interesting because every time we order through the app and then go into the store and pick up, the bowl is like filled to the brim.
Yeah, you like take off the tin lid and it is the shape of the lid.
Yes,
like it is
it's
full all the way
Yes.
to the very top.
Yes. And it's interesting because they're made in the back. So I've had like several theories on all of this and we've talked about it extensively. And I'm ready to share it with the world. But it's
Now that we've integrated this.
Yes, we've integrated this message. So it's interesting because the person in the back makes the mobile orders. So that's fascinating to me. And then I always notice there's this like weird resistance when you ask for like extra of anything, or you ask for like, actually, can you do a little bit more on the veggies? Or there's always like a weird hesitation because it goes against their training. Cause like their training is they're trained to scoop this much every time. Like it's always whatever I don't know the specs. Yeah, I don't know all of that for Chipotle.
Like a rounded scoop of this is the amount of rice you give someone.
Right. So when you ask for a little bit more, you can like feel their like zzz, zzz, like it kind of short circuits, and you can like feel their resistance to wanting to give you more because then it's going against what they've been trained to do in their job and all these things. It's very bizarre. Test it out, try it. It's a fun experiment.
It is fun.
And if you work at Chipotle and you're listening to this, you know what I'm talking about. So it's fascinating. That all in of itself is just fascinating to me because I'm like, oh, when it gets made in the back and there's no human interaction and they're literally just reading down off of a list, they just load it up. Yeah. There's no like wondering, or maybe there is wondering, but there's no like, oh, we need to charge them extra. Like there's just this assumption that like the customer is getting charged the appropriate amount with all these specifications.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it comes through like official channels. Like it's not like you're asking them to like hook you up. It's coming through the app itself. And the app itself gives it to you. So it's coming from like an official Chipotle, through an official Chipotle information line, and it's not coming from you.
Yep.
So they don't feel like you're like cheating the company or whatever. They're like, oh, this is possible in the app. They paid for it in the app, so obviously they paid for it.
Yep.
And
we have been asked if it charged us more.
Yeah.
Which I
she's
think
like,
we've shared that
did you
story.
get charged more on those things? And we're like, no, but extra meat's charged, but we don't do extra meat.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny, the psychology of it all.
So that just like brings up like programming in and of itself, and the way that we're conditioned and programmed and trained at our jobs or wherever, just trained in life to be. And what I feel like we do a lot of, what we spend a lot of time doing in the second paradigm in all of our courses and everything we teach in our mastermind, even in our 47 mini courses, like it's all like deconstructing all of that. Yeah. It's just like pulling it all back, pulling back all the things of everybody that said anything to you about fucking anything and being like, okay, but what's here? We're not looking to replace it with something. We're not going to tell you what you replace the new thing with. Like we hold space for it all to unfurl. And then your soul gets to actually drop in, and then you already know. You're like, oh, yep, this is actually my truth. It's this. And then you end up creating like what's actually here for you by connecting to your own truth.
Yeah.
Because it's odd to me, like even in talking about like NLP and that whole world, like it's strange to me to like consciously program someone else's brain to do something. Like we talk a lot about Darren Brown and like if you're not familiar with him, he's like a
Yeah, then just YouTube him, Darren, Derren Brown.
super
NLP.
fascinating.
Very
Super fascinating.
Because you can program a body to do a lot of things.
And it's wild. And like, I don't want to do that ever. I don't want that done to me. Like, I want my sovereignty intact, and I want my power, my personal power, and my connection to my own divinity and my own truth always intact. I don't want any of that manipulation stuff. Like, that's what it all feels like to me. So it's interesting. So being in our spaces with us, like, it's a lot of dismantling, and especially in like the personal development world and like the spiritual world and all of that, there's all of these, like, it's like a new type of programming. It's like a new type of like belief system that gets overlaid on the old one, or like the old one gets dismantled, and then they're like, oh, okay, like I can't have any judgments, because if I have a judgment, then that means that I need to look at something within myself. Like, dude, just fucking have the judgment and know that the judgment is steering you to deeper truth within yourself, because you're like, I am not fucking available for that. Yeah, I'm judging the shit out of it, and that is not for me. Like, oh my God, that is fucking healthy. Like, oh, there's just so much noise and confusion, and you spend all of this time like in this perpetual state of like being bad and wrong and shame and like all these digging for things to fix, and like, you're good, you're good. You've always been good. Stop trying to fix yourself.
Yeah. I remember asking a coach back in the day, blew my mind, just like a friend. I was like, what do we do? Because I was just starting to coach. I was like, what do you do once you get past this certain thing or whatever? And I was asking about all the things. And then I was like, this whole thing just feels like we'd be shaming people into different decisions. Like, isn't there another way? Or like, isn't like, like, why would that work? And they're like, well, yeah, like, what else would you do? And I thought it was the craziest response. Whoa. Because like, it's not something that people talk about, you know? No. But like, when you look at the mechanisms of lots of things, I mean, even lots of like the sales script ideas out there for like how to get someone to enroll in a program, lots of them are just really shame based. Yeah. It's like, how much longer are you willing to feel terrible? You just told me all your terrible things. Well, like, you're choosing it, bro. Like, like, come on, man. And it's like evoking. When
are you
going
to step up? You must not want it bad enough.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I had a woman say that to me once. She was like, well, if you don't have the money, you must not want it bad enough. I'm like, yo, I just sold all my shit, moved across the country. Like, when I want something bad enough, I fucking do it. And like,
sounds like you don't want me bad enough as a client. You're being an asshole.
Yeah, I know. It was such not a good fit. I'm so glad that did not work out.
But yeah, it's funny. I mean, the most popular podcast I ever had, on the last podcast I was doing, it was one of the first ones, and I called it Emotional Manipulation in the Coaching Industry.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows it. Everyone feels it. Everyone who's ever been around the personal development world knows that feeling of being manipulated into something else.
It's gross.
And internally, as the coach, all the psychology is like, but this is for their benefit. We're doing this for their benefit. We're giving them new belief systems or new programs or new trends or new whatever because it works better. But there's this assumption that we need to be programmed in the first place. And I think that's where our work comes into play, where we go, okay, we are a body and a soul, and we have an essence that's outside of all of this programming, outside of all of our experience here. And the deeper you go into spirituality, the more you recognize that when you're letting go of all of these things, you aren't just becoming a blank slate that does nothing. That's the fear. If I'm not hardwired to feel shame about my financial situation, or if I don't feel super scarce, how am I going to work? You hear that all the time. I hear that question come up all the time when I'm listening to like personal development people and stuff. And when I was in those communities, like that thing would come up all the time, and there was never really a good answer to it. It was always like, well, you know, like, you'll still be okay and you'll still do things. And it's true. But like, there's just this assumption that we need these new programs, or we need new ideas or new strategies or new things to run. But it's the same thing with like college. We have all of these tracks that are available to us. We were talking about this the other day. There's all these tracks that are available to us. And like, I think as spiritual people, we look out in the world and we go, oh my goodness, look at all of these like programmed people all in the matrix. But like, spirituality in itself is its own set of new rules that everyone's following. Yeah. It's a whole new like quote unquote matrix of all these spiritual ideas around like, your thoughts create your reality. So tear your thoughts apart. Your emotions and your vibe creates your reality. So tear your emotions apart. Judge the shit out of yourself instead of judging others. Just keep tearing yourself apart and you'll be more spiritual. That's the spiritual matrix, right? It's the spiritual programming. So there's all of these different directions we can go, but at its core, the firm stand that Miriam and I are taking,
Yeah.
I think especially in this How to Promote Your Soul to CEO course, enrollment open now.
Join us.
Yes, please.
Bing, bing,
Because that's what we're
bing.
doing here. The firm stand that Miriam and I are taking around this is underneath all of that programming, you have an essence and you already know what to do.
Yes.
And you can listen to that and trust it. And that soul guidance will take you further than anybody else's guidance.
Yeah.
Than
Ever.
anybody else's strategies, anybody else's systems.
Yep.
Because all of those other systems and strategies are just detours
Yeah.
from what's actually here.
Yeah.
And what's really here is an opportunity to step deeper into your soul truth, say yes even more to yourself and what you ultimately know you are. And when you do that, everything unfolds. The business unfolds, your whole life unfolds, your relationship unfolds, your health unfolds, everything, because you become this new version of yourself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I sent out an email the other day that was like there's lots of things that we're doing in this. Like we're promoting our souls to CEO, yes, to the core decision-making process of the business, but really the overwhelming feedback we get back is like, this is just a return home.
Yeah.
This is a return home
Yeah.
to full permission to be yourself,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Which is why we focus so much on the deprogramming and dismantling of all of the things that are out there, all of the shoulds, all of the have-tos, because underneath that, you're not an empty slate. Underneath that, you're you.
Mm-hmm. And that's what the world needs.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
You're so good with words.
Thanks, my love.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel the truth in it.
Yeah.
It's so nice. It's so nice to like do this work in the world and be able to stand by it, like through and through. Like there is no part of me that is like, ooh, you know, like,
I'm not in
ooh, we
question
just,
of our modality at all.
yeah. Like,
and as a coach, I was always in question of our modality.
right.
Always.
Well, because it was
Always,
somebody
always,
else's.
because it was somebody else's. And I wasn't sure if I could believe in it.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
I love that you said that. I believe more in our work today than I've ever believed in anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
Well, yeah, because we've just continued to be more of ourselves in the world, and that's what this is. That's the thing here. It's not to be other people's selves or like embody other people's modalities. Like it's literally just to anchor more of you here.
Man, I've never really reflected on this, but like the coaching world. Yeah, what's here? It's kind of going. Just the thing about believing in ourselves so fully. Like I've never known so fully what it is that I've done. I think that's a thing, you know, in the coaching world. Like one of the internal reflections that I made a lot back when I was just coaching, just from strategies and systems. Like, all right, I'm going to bring them through Bio and Katie's their work, and we're going to unpack things, build systems, build strategies, and help them along their way. When I was doing that, I was in constant doubt because I didn't know how I got to where I was. I had no idea. No idea. I would say 95% of coaches have no idea how they actually got where they are, other than that they hired coaches and that they had support along the way and they had people who could guide them along the path. But when I look back at our journey for the past year especially, but even before that, I know exactly how we got here. Exactly.
Yeah.
We listened to our soul truth over everything else. We made the most difficult emotional bet ever because we felt it was absolutely true.
Yeah.
We bet on soul over our emotions. We bet on soul over our logic. We bet our soul over our community's logic, over the consensus in society, over scientific consensus, over philosophical and spiritual consensus. We bet on ourselves.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
I know exactly how we got here. And I've never felt that with anything else. And I think that's what's so cool and why that was the aha I had as I was listening to you talk about that, is like, I feel so solid in what we teach because it's what we did.
Yeah.
And it works so well.
Yeah.
And everyone we help, it works so well for them too.
Yeah.
And because it's not just this incomplete thing that we pulled from a coaching book or we got from our coaching certification for like a cool model or system or process that it takes you through and you're like, wow, I really got value out of that. We don't have this logical framework that we take people through. We don't write down our modality and, all right, we asked them this question and this question and this question, then it leads here. I used to work like that. That's how I coached, was with other people's systems and strategies and questions, other people's questions. And now I'm at a place where I know exactly how we got here. I know exactly what's going to get everyone forward.
Yeah.
And it's this soul truth. The spiritual context filled out all of my questions, my existential questions, all of my big coaching questions. All that stuff got resolved because it feels like we've built an awareness around the fundamental mechanics of reality. This is just how reality works. This is what we're doing here. This is our life purpose. This is how reality works. Yeah. And I think that's why for me in Massachusetts for those 9 months, all I felt was like, I need to do this book. I need to get it out there. I need to bring it through. I need to understand it.
Yeah.
And looking back, I'm like, of course I felt that compulsion. Of course my soul was leading me there because now I understand the totality of reality and how it works and what we're doing here. Yeah. And that's understanding that everyone around me told me it was impossible to have. And many people still think it's impossible. Yeah. People think it's impossible to understand reality. I think it's a given. I think it's the foundation of what we're doing here. So it's cool how much like collective between you and I and even all of the people around us have about what reality is. Like, oh, we're a body and soul. My whole mission is to follow this soul truth. And when you do, that's when life unfolds.
Yeah.
It just feels like we have a very rounded, well-rounded and grounded perspective.
Yeah. I love that.
It's so cool.
Man, that should be the soundbite for the beginning of the podcast.
Sure.
I was just like hypnotized, but not hypnotized, enamored with your words. Yeah, I feel the truth in that. And it's been really cool to like read your channelings, hear your channelings, be a part of your channelings, because it's just brought such context to my life for all of this. Because this makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what I needed.
It makes sense. It feels true. Like we can feel soul truth. Like we know truth when we hear it. Yeah. Just like the same way we know manipulation. Like it's the same. You just feel it and you know. And the more that we can refine into our own soul truth and soul knowing, like that, I mean, that's exactly what we're here to do. But everyone's is so unique and so different. And I think that's why we don't teach like journal prompts and strategies to get them there. What we just continue to ask is like, okay, what's here? Like what's here for you? And they always know. Our containers are so potent and so self-selective. And I've always believed this anyway. Even when I was running Light Up Your Truth, I just always knew that the people would come in at the right time. I didn't even know things about containers. I had no idea. But there was just this like inherent knowing and trust that like, oh yeah, like the next person will just reveal themselves. Yeah. And they always did. And like, that's exactly how it works. Like these, like we're not just like willy-nilly creating courses out of thin air or like trying to create some sort of like thing. So I don't know. I can't even say all the words because it's just not what we're doing. Like what we're doing is we're in communion with the intelligence of these programs, not even just the intelligence of the second paradigm, but the intelligence of the program. And then it's pinging us to relaunch again because there's more people that are ready for this work. And that's fucking cool. Yeah. And it's not just us creating the thing. Like your soul is also saying like, oh my God, yes. Like there is this, like, there's just this synergistic, like thing that we can't even see, but we can feel it. And when we all get on the calls together, when we're all in the same space, we're like, yep, this is home. This is it.
Yeah.
Like, this is it. This is the space where I can like practice being myself. I can say things that are not fucking true at all, but they're going to come spewing out of my mouth because they need some place to go. Like there's so much permission to just like unravel all of it.
Yeah.
And like, oh my God, that's literally like, I feel like that's what I'm here. Like that's why I'm here, is to be that space for people to unfurl. I feel that so deeply in my bones. Like there is no question anymore. Yeah. It is such a fucking gift. And it's like, it feels like it was given to me. Like, I'm like, oh, like I often like think of like, oh, like we go through the Rolodex, like with God and we're like, okay, what are we going to choose for our things? You know, like I'm like, oh, I'm going to have like this little characteristic and like one of these and like I want one of those. But like, I feel like it feels like God was like, here, Miriam, like take this, hold this space for people. And I was like, okay. And like just now I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, because there's something here. There's something here in this space and in all the silence that we have on our calls and the deep breaths and the sighs. And then it's unlike anything I've ever experienced. And I've always searched for it in other containers outside of what we're creating, and I've never found it. Every time I get into a container, I'm like, this is too tight. Where's the room? Like I want to like punch out my elbows because I'm like, what the fuck is going on in here? Why aren't you guys talking about anything real?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, what is this?
Here's step 1 of how to be exactly like me.
Yeah.
And do things exactly like me.
Oh my God.
Are you all ready to become me? Because obviously I'm better than you. Here's why your life sucks, my life's great. Here's how to become like me. Steps A through Z. Welcome to the coaching industry.
Yeah. And that's not what's here. Like, we need you to be you. Like, because fuck, like, and we can feel it, right? Like, think back to a time when you've invested in some sort of container, and you can only grow as big as like there's an expectation on the container, and you can only grow that big, because then if you get bigger than that, like, that fucks up everything. Like, you can't, like, it's like, it's, and that's where I feel like the punching out your elbows thing, like, that's where I'm like, but I feel like in our spaces there is just so much room. There is no expectation. The expectation is that you be as big as you can possibly be. Like, that's what we want. That's what we need. We need you in your magnificence and in your bigness and in your brightness.
And we push people right up to their edge all the time, constantly. What's there? What's there? What's there? What's there? What's there? And we pull them all the way down to their biggest conflict. And most of the time it's like, I can't get any bigger. I have to keep doing this. I have to do this. I have to do this. And what's really there underneath it is like, there's this massive business and calling, and I'm terrified of it, and I can't say yes to it almost all the time.
Yeah.
And then we take them right into that conflict and we go, cool, what's here? And then we unravel just a little bit more of the programming and a little bit more of the programming. And by week 7, they're just it.
Yeah.
They're just that version of themselves.
Yeah. It's just full permission to be it, finally.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Today we got a question of like, because often, like, you know, I joke about, like, if I was a doctor, I would prescribe more time and more space. I'd be like, all right, that's what you need. More time, more space, more Netflix.
This great pharmaceutical company called God. They've been doling out just the best products.
Oh my God.
Ever.
Cream of the crop.
Time tested, research based.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
It's called Time is the first one.
Time.
And Spaasi. They're great. I don't know if I'm pronouncing them right, but definitely check them out. You might see a commercial during the 4:00 news.
Oh my God. I was good. I was
Sorry.
thinking of what the side effects would be.
Oh yeah. The side effects may include bliss and a spontaneous immersion into who you truly are.
Oh my God, yes.
May also include Netflix, HBO Now.
Yeah. Amazon Prime.
More downtime than you're comfortable with, and being deeply confronted with all of your existential questions about who you can and can't be.
Yep. So that's my prescription, is more time and more space. But it's interesting because the question that we received today was like, well, how do you know when someone's just like resisting and like avoiding and like basically like eating Cheetos and watching Netflix and just avoiding life?
It was like, yeah, but what about those people who are like just
and I was like,
super lazy?
no. Like that's like actually what's here. Like, we actually tell them to go deeper into the Netflix and the Cheetos.
I get 2 bags of Cheetos this week.
Like, don't just eat one bag. Like, you go full in with because you unconsciously eat one, you know, you're just like, boom, like plow through it. So you need to have the other bag so you can remember and maybe bring a little bit more awareness. But we often talk about this and like deconstructing like laziness and all of that stuff. Like it's just not true. Like, if you're feeling called to rest, like, fucking rest for the love of God, literally, and yourself. Rest. Because there is something more there, and it'll make sense when it's time for it to make sense. But like, it's interesting because we like, okay, we get the guidance to rest. We're like, oh my God, I just need to slow down. Maybe you got fucking sick. Maybe you're like out straight and you're like, oh my God, I can't do anything. I have a head cold. I have strep throat. I have this. I have that. I broke my ankle.
But I have to create my 3 Instagram posts today, or my whole business is going to collapse and I'm going to die next month. And that's going to be way worse than working while I'm sick.
Yeah. It's wild. So like, what would it be like to just rest and then rest even more and not make yourself guilty for resting? Because then all your shit comes up in the rest, and that's perfect. That's what we want. We want all your shit to come up because that's where the growth is. Like David loves when your shit comes up. He gets all smiley.
So excited. I lean in.
Leans in. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, all right, what's here?
Yeah.
What's here?
Like,
tell me more of it.
Everything,
tell me more.
all of your shit. I love it.
Because it's real. It's real. It's right on the cutting edge. And I know that when that thing pops and resolves, they're going to be a new person. Yeah. That's why I get so excited.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you're changing before my very eyes. This is the most exciting thing. This is the best part of my job is when your shit comes up.
Yes.
And then I get to tell you all the ways why your shit is not true. Because your soul is right here speaking to both of us. And it has all of the answers for why your shit isn't true. And all I have to do is read it and teach you how to read it and tap into that. And you are dialed for life.
It's true. Yeah, and you're so good at reading it. Oh my God. You're so good at articulating soul back to people. When they feel it and hear it, they feel so seen and understood. It's like, oh my God. Like
man, you're a dynamic duo. My goodness.
I feel that way. Like squeeze your armpit. And we are a dynamic duo. And I feel like I scan for truth and I'm like, and like anytime something's not true, I like give you a little poke and I'm like, oh, there's something here. There's something here. And then you get the packet of information and you're like,
yeah. Because you have this thing about you where like people come into our containers. This blew my mind the first time I spent any time in one of your containers. I think it was like back in Massachusetts. I like hopped on a call. Oh. It was a guest call. I was your guest.
You were
speaker.
my guest.
I was still so brainy and like logical, but I get on and everyone's laying down. And I was like, what is this? Like, how do you do this? It's like everyone's like has blankets on and it's like a coaching call, you know? I'm like, what's going on here? But Miriam has this way about her and I don't know how she does it. It's an intangible thing.
That's the thing. That's the gift I think God gave me.
Yeah, I know.
I really feel that. And I feel like I can own it because I don't feel like I created it or like I'm trying to prove something.
Yeah.
I feel like it's literally like being like, oh yeah, I have brown hair.
Because I've seen Miriam do it for like a year and a half and I still have no idea how she does it. I still have no idea how to replicate it. It is just you.
I know.
When you were in a container
Thank you.
and you were leading it and it's your container or our container, everyone who's in, they come in and immediately they settle in and they're themselves. It's like your energetic threshold for truth is so high that like they just have, like anyone who comes into any of our containers just like immediately breaks down into themselves. None of their programs work. It's like you're like an EMF field, like, or not, you know, or like those bombs, EMF bombs or whatever, where you drop it and then all the like electronics stop working.
Oh yeah,
that's like a thing, right? Like in sci-fi movies and stuff.
I was even thinking people put like EMF things on their cell phones.
Totally, you're like that, but for programming. It's like it like scrambles and doesn't work anymore, and they go, oh, well, I guess I'll just be myself because like nothing else, I can't access anything else. And then in that relaxed space, like. I just have this thing where I need to understand reality. It's just my thing. I
know. And I love that that's your thing because I feel like I have a backing. Because all my answers are like, I don't know, just trust the energy. I don't know. I just like
just trust yourself, trust the energy. Just read it. It's right there. Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't translate.
Yeah. So I can articulate like the specifics of it, and I need to. And all of my questions for the past 2.5, almost 3 years now, coming up on 3 years since my channel opened. For the past almost 3 years, all of my questions have been, okay, how does this work? How does this work? How does this work? How does this work? And I'll stay up till like 3 a.m. sometimes, just like, how does this work? How does this work? How does this work? And I'll ask questions about like very specific things. Like, okay, tell me about last night I was like, okay, so like you're telling me right now that what's here is rest. So like, I'm curious, it's very important that I'm doing these specific things while I'm awake. So like, what is it about being awake versus being asleep that these things are playing out? Like, why do I need to be awake? What is it about this waking time? And they're like, it's so much context, 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. or whatever. I was watching Game of Thrones. They were like, there's not enough space here. Plus, you're supposed to be resting.
You're supposed to be resting. We're not going to tell you.
This isn't the time. But I can feel the answers start to come in and I can start to feel some awareness. And they're like, just know that there is a differentiation. Yeah. Know that there's something there. And that's really all you need to know for this moment. Yeah. But I'll ask about it. I'm sure I'll ask about it tomorrow or today. Like that curiosity just is bottomless and the answers are bottomless. Yeah. And I think that's the thing that always frustrated me about spirituality is like when I went out and looked for answers, they're like, well, you know, spirituality, it's unexplainable. And I'm like, no. Reality is not unexplainable. Yeah. Like look at science. This physical reality is not unexplainable. None of this is unexplainable. Like explain it to me if you don't know, that's fine, but I need to find someone who does. And I could never find anyone who did until my channel opened, and I was like, oh, you guys know. Now I can ask all of these questions. Finally, tell me what this body is, tell me what this soul is, tell me what all these things are. And they just keep giving me answers. And they owe it, and they resonate as truth with everyone around us, with you, which is good because you have this high threshold for truth.
That's true.
And anytime I like start to stray and I'm like, well, maybe this, like, and I'm like trying to guess, you're like, no, it's not it. And I'm like, I know, I can feel it.
So fun. Yeah. You know what? I totally want to segue to another. I felt the thing open, which is still related. So it's interesting, like this curiosity and this endless quest for truth and like more deeper understanding. I feel the same way when it comes to all these things in the political arena.
Interesting.
All of it. So when the mass shooting happened in El Paso and then in Dayton, which is where my dad lives, I was like, ooh, was he at the bar? Because, I don't know. Who knows? He wasn't. He said that's where the kids go and headbang. And then he was like, I don't even know if kids still headbang.
That's funny.
But he wasn't there. But he lives nearby. But it was interesting, right? So my first instinct was to search, the spiritual meaning of mass shootings. Like what's actually, like, I want to know the truth of this. I think
we're going to do a whole episode on this too, but keep going. I love it.
Okay. Well, how far can I go? Or how?
Feel it.
I feel like just going.
Yeah, I trust you.
Okay. So I just got nervous. So it's just interesting because I like Googled that, and of course there's nothing. Like there's nothing. Like, and then I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh, I just need to sit with this and just pull through the truth. Like I just need to pull through the truth that's actually here because I am not going to find it out there. Because what I'm looking for, no one is saying is the thing. And then I was like, oh my God, I know I'm here to say this stuff. I know I'm here to be a disruptor in the way that people think and the way that people think about reality, just like you are.
Yeah, it's interesting. Huh. This is cool.
Okay. So what's going on over there?
It's so cool that we both just have this bottomless fascination with reality and pulling through more and more and more and more truth.
Because like, okay, here's the thing. Let's sidestep. I do feel a whole episode on the mass shooting thing too. Sidestep. We went to Contact in the Desert a few years ago where like, it's so fucking weird. Number one.
Yeah.
It's like people in lawn chairs.
Counterculture. Very, very different.
It's people in lawn chairs wanting to have the government disclose that ETs are real.
Yes.
Like the whole focus is on basically like, fuck the government. The government needs to tell us the truth.
Yeah. And here's how far we've gotten to prove that this is real.
And that the government is lying and covering things up. Like it's all this like, it's weird. I'm like, why are we wasting our time? Can't we just trust and know that it's real and like go sit outside and do the meditation with Greer and make contact? Like,
totally.
Can't we just do that instead? Like, why are we spending all of this time dilly-dallying about what people are and aren't telling you? Like, why aren't you connected to your own truth? Like, can't you just feel that ETs exist? Of course they do. It'd be so strange to think that they don't, which maybe that's a thought for people, but like how self-absorbed could we possibly be to think that we're the only like beings,
especially with all the spiritual context,
in
my
the
goodness,
solar system.
We're all interconnected. There's a higher consciousness, but we're the only planet it's connected to. We're the only civilization. It's human beings and God, and that's it. Human beings and the divine. There's definitely no other civilizations where the same thing is playing out. Of course, that's absurd.
Right.
Haven't you read the Bible?
I know. My mom even believes in ETs.
Yeah, she
loves the Bible.
It's true.
Oh yeah, she loves Brigham. Okay, so all of the things, right? So it's just fascinating to me that like there's this, because my quest, so I get the thirst for truth, right? But like my quest isn't to like disprove the government or like to prove that to the government that I know that they're lying. Like that feels like a waste of time. Like I just want to stand solidly in my truth and my knowing and keep going from that place. And like that's how I felt about like the mass shootings that just recently happened. Like I was like, okay, there's a deeper truth here. This isn't just about like Trump. This isn't just about white supremacy. I know those are the narratives out there and I know those are pieces of it.
Of course.
And I get that, but there's a deeper truth. And that's what I'm always questing for. Because I'm like, what's actually going on? Like, what's actually a part of this divine orchestration that's a bigger, like zoomed out perspective that's more real and that I can actually like feel soul truth in.
Yeah.
And you don't get that anywhere but from connecting, from like going up and connecting with your oversoul, connecting with yourself.
Especially in America. There's this thing with America. I don't get it. But if a company, so let's say like a big company does something really bad, horrendous. They're like stealing money from shareholders and putting it in something, and like 100 people are involved. They'll just fire the CEO and then they're done and they keep going. They'll fire the CEO has resigned and this new person has stepped in. We just need to, like, logically, we just need to go, oh yeah, it was his fault. And then it goes away.
Funny. You're right.
We have this thing where we zero in on one person and one person takes all of the praise or all the responsibility for something. Like, oh, Mark Zuckerberg's trying to manipulate us through Facebook. And it's like, whoa, look at, you know how many millions of people are involved in this discussion right now? Like, this isn't Mark Zuckerberg. He just built a platform for people to, like, hang out that he could sell ads on at some point, you know? Like, it's just funny. There are all of these little partial truths out there that satiate things just enough for people to move on. And to get back to what they're doing, get back to their matrix, whatever matrix it is, you know, or their version of reality, whatever it is. Okay, now I can get back to, like, now that I know that the CEO of that company is fired, I'm not as enraged. Phew. Thank goodness justice was done. Now I can get back to, like, my sales scripts and manipulating these people into, like, my coaching programs. Like, it's a weird thing, you know, but we just need, because it creates dissonance, and then we're like, okay, there's something wrong. It's got to resolve. So everyone has to, like, all hands on deck. We got to do something. And then we see this little sliver of truth that comes out, and it's just enough to where we go, okay, good. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Oh yeah, everyone hates Trump now for the border. Great. Yeah, awesome. Oh yeah, great. There was some discussion about it. Okay, awesome. Let's move on.
Yeah. And it's so funny because it's never just one person. Like, when I think about, like, even the times of Hitler, I'm like, what? Like, all of these other people chose to buy into what he was up to.
And a whole worldview, like, and a whole everything.
It wasn't just Hitler as a single individual. And, like, I think that's why it's so important to listen to our own truth and our I keep saying sovereignty, but that's, like, what it is. And being connected to your own energy, because from that place, the decisions are much different. You're not following the crowd. You're not clicked into autopilot doing the shoulds and the supposed tos and the, like, the biological, like, programming of, like, needing to belong. Like, that gets to fall away because soul knows soul belongs. Yeah. There isn't a worry about, it's like soul's like, yeah, if you follow me, you're still belonging because you've always belonged. You've never not belonged is the thing.
Of course. And actually you came here not to belong, but to bring something fundamentally new to the planet. You came here to embody something that is very different that the world's never seen before, so you can change the world. You're here to change the world, so be the change. Literally, be the change by being yourself, which is different than the counter or than the current consensus culture.
Yes, 100%. I love that. And when I say belong, I'm thinking of, like, when people talk about oneness, like, it's the same thing, but it's the zoomed out oneness. It's like, oh yeah, we're already the oneness. Like, the oneness is already here. Like, we don't need to, like, totally. We don't need to, like, pop out of our bodies and zoom into and feel everybody in order to feel oneness.
And Trump's a part of the oneness, and all of these horrific events are all a part of the oneness. There are collective values being highlighted through these one or two people that we all hate.
Yes.
And that's, I think, the harder truth. That I don't hate either. That we have conversations about where, like, that's not it.
Yes.
Because it is a harder thing to look at these horrific things that happen and go, you know what, that's not the white supremacist. That's the totality of our culture. That's us not having structures and systems to take care of the basic human needs of everyone across the board. That's survival and safety. That's media manipulation on a mass scale, and everyone just going along with it and not and believing it and getting back to their day and getting back to doing what they're doing. It's a systemic problem all the way through, and every single person's involved. And that's, I think one of the toughest things to come to, because you go, oh, this is happening. Like, I'm actually involved in this too. Everyone's involved in this. We've collectively created this reality, and it's better than it's ever been. So that's awesome. But there's still these crappy things about it. And then if you aren't disconnected from all these things, right? We're talking about the business have-tos, but we're really going out to bigger how-tos now, or have-tos. If you're connected to those things, you get sucked right into it. Like, oh, there's this big thing and there's this really big atrocity. Oh, so maybe I should go to the border right now, and maybe I should, and then with the next hashtag or the next movement comes out, oh, maybe I should like campaign for Bernie Sanders right now, or maybe I should campaign for Marianne Williamson right now, or maybe I should get involved in this thing, or speak out about this thing, or speak out about the latest news thing, or share whatever, you know? But when you zoom out to that truest soul truth, then you come to this place where it's like you got to click into a whole new paradigm. We're talking about the second paradigm because this is a whole new way of looking at everything.
Totally.
But in the second paradigm, our way of contributing to that progress and all of the collective atrocity is just being ourselves in the world, but really doing it, following that soul truth all the way through.
Yeah.
And I think outside of that, like, there's a level of acceptance and recognizing what's here is what's here, and it sucks, and it's way bigger than these little things that we think it is. And our way of contributing to all of that is by choosing our soul truth.
Yes.
And that ripple is bigger than...
Yeah. And I think what we often find is in the soul truth, when you're choosing from that place, it's not the latest hashtag. It's not many of those things that we think it is, because those things to me are tied with like being a good human and a good person. And it's the whole like thing. It's like jumping on the bandwagon of the current narrative, but that switches so much and so fast, and like you can lose your identity in that. So staying true to you and making decisions from that place, and allowing, I was talking to a woman the other day about this, like allow the doing to emerge from your being. Like just keep being who you are, and the doing will bubble up. The inspiration will strike. Maybe you will share the hotline number because it just feels like it's time, it's here, it's ripe. But there's a distinct difference in sharing from the place of chaos and like the knee-jerk response than just like absolutely just sharing from your being. And people on the receiving end feel that. And I think, like, I'm just going to say this, I don't know if but I stopped following Elizabeth Gilbert the other day because she posted something about the mass shooting and how it was like Donald Trump's fault and white supremacy's fault. And it was a whole list of everybody's fault. And I was like, this is more of the same. This isn't, I'm not interested in this narrative. I'm interested in the deeper truth here. And like, this isn't it for me. Like, I like your books. Keep writing. Like, you are so brilliant and so light in your brilliance. That's where I resonate with you the most. That's where, like, God, we need you fucking writing. Just write your fucking books. They're beautiful. They're amazing. They're gorgeous. Like, that's like, that to me, that will move humanity forward quicker and smoother than anything else, than getting like, because it felt like a side sweep. And I'm like, man, I can't do this anymore. I can't follow along. And, you know, I think most people feel that. And that's the thing that we don't really take into consideration. Well, I feel like an asshole because I was like, are we going to beep this out? Because I said... No, it's fine. Beep. But that's what most people are feeling. When they look out and they see the exact same marketing, when they see people just taking the exact same sales page or Facebook post template from their coach and saying, do you have blank, blank, blank? Well, do I have the solution for you? It's like the old like snake oil salesman sales script that's been passed down and went to insurance companies. And like, you know, it's all the same stuff. It's all the exact same emotional manipulation of make you feel bad about your life, give you a better solution, put the credit card in between. It's always the same. And I'm not saying that it's not those things. Like, I get, like, totally. I get that white supremacy is like a real thing. Like, of course. I get that. But like, I want to go even deeper. Like, I want, like, because I guarantee being in a room with someone that's a white supremacist and you didn't know, and you sat down with them and you talked to them about something, you would definitely find something in common with them. Because that's how we work. We have so much more in common than we think we do. So I'm fascinated by like, okay, but like, what's really here? Like, it feels like such tricky territory to navigate. And I'm like, oh God, I can feel like the triggers going up. But like, it just can't be it. Like, that just can't be a blanket statement that goes across everything. Like, like if we're really here to like be love and be ourselves and all of those things that are so rampant in the spiritual communities and things we believe at the second paradigm. It's like, well, then can you still be that in the middle of a meeting with a bunch of white supremacists around? Like, I remember they did that commercial, I think it was like with Heineken, and they had people with very different like viewpoints.
Totally. There's lots of YouTube channels like that too.
And it's so cool because they don't even know the background of each other.
Yeah.
They have no idea. And then they get in the same room and they just start shooting the shit about random stuff, and it's fine. They're not even talking about their political affiliation or their like gender or what sexual orientation or anything.
Yeah. I think we're starting to get into the other episode a little bit, because I think we're gonna
I
we're gonna
know.
circle back.
Are we?
Yes, absolutely. Because in August, or sorry, not August. Now is August. In October, we're gonna do a whole
interesting.
47, and lots of that around navigating lots of these things, around tricky energies, around both etheric and physical energies, and this topic's coming back, and I think we're still percolating on it and kind of being with lots of that. But I love that it came up now, and I love the specific thread that I feel most here in this particular episode, because we're talking about kind of like business.
Yeah, I totally got
business
sidetracked.
have-tos. It's okay,
As usual.
because it's all a part of it.
It all feels the same.
This thread about not getting swept up in all of these things and being able to be yourself in the world is huge.
Yeah.
Because what I was saying about like everyone can feel it, like that same thing you felt when you read that post from Elizabeth Gilbert, it's not even her, right?
I know, that's
right?
the
It's
thing.
not, and I mean it's not just her that's doing that. We see it everywhere. Everyone's posting about things that aren't them.
Yes.
And that aren't a true expression of them, and you can feel it, and it kind of just numbs you out as you go past. You're like, it's not even them. It's more of the same thing. It's more of the noise. It's more of everything.
Yep.
And we have this thing where we want to fit in, and we want to do the thing that's true. And from the internal perspective, it feels like those are important things to say.
Yep.
But the truth is, it's not really helping, and we're not really moving things forward, and we're perpetuating half-truths.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the truest thing that we have to bring to this world is ourselves, our truest expression. And for Elizabeth Gilbert, that's her books, and they're incredible.
Oh my God.
She's an incredible author. And
speaker.
And for us, right? I mean, for me, it's like understanding all of these things. And for you, it's about embodying these things and creating these spaces and liberating people. And I think the reason why we're so drawn to lots of these things is because it is quite literally our job to help liberate the collective from lots of these ideas.
Yeah.
But I think this whole thing is really just a metaphor and kind of a deep look into just more of those business and life have-tos that we subscribe to.
Yes, I feel that.
Because these narratives aren't ours.
Yep.
And when we're looking for what to do, it's really easy to try to subscribe to those things or try to hop along for more fans or more clout or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, our true job is to be ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, when I think about the arc of the CEO course and what we're doing, right, this return home, it's not always easy to differentiate this. Once you see it and you notice, you're like, oh yeah, that isn't really them. That's weird. But internally, when you're doing this, it's not always obvious, because that shit, when it comes up, those have-tos feel just as real,
Totally.
just as true as soul truth. And so you really start sitting with it and go, that feels way off. What is that? And then you call on your oversoul and you sit with that truth. So I think what we end up doing in this particular course is dismantling past mentors, the coaching industry, and all of these typical business have-tos, so that people can come back to their real truth. Because at the end of the day, all of these businesses are just extensions of ourselves.
Yeah.
All these businesses are just extensions of our essence. We're here to bring our essence to the world, and those structures happen to be called businesses. And we happen to trade financial currency in exchange for the most valuable gift we ever have to give, which is true collective change by embodying something that has never been here before. And the only way to do that is by really starting to deprogram and coming to that place where we can recognize that our body is trying to conform to the world around us because we're hardwired to, but that our real life mission is our soul.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. You tied that up in such a nice bow.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't think you brought it up for no reason, and I love that we got to start talking about it, and that we will talk about it more, because it feels important. Like it feels very important that you have space here to talk about the things that are most up too. Absolutely. And I love it, because it's it's all here.
It's literally like I feel like I have to now. I used to be scared to say all these things. I thought I'd literally die. It was obviously some past life trauma that I didn't go into and dig for, but it always felt so scary to really radically speak my truth. And like I haven't even said the full Monty of like what I actually believe, but like this is enough for now. But it's just I don't know where I'm going with that, but it feels good. Thank you. It feels good to like
Yeah.
just share it and like just get it out and offer something different. Just offer a different perspective and like offer like a moment of just like, hey, just check in real quick and like see if you're going to actually share that thing. Like maybe what's here for you is to share the picture of the pretty flower. You know, everyone around you sharing the other thing, but like, what would it be like to be the disruptor and share the picture of the pretty flower and be like, you know what? My heart hurts today. This is all I got.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, people will feel that. And that is so much more impactful than like copy paste narratives, whether they're literally copy paste or just ideas that are copy and pasted.
Yeah.
But like, we need you in your essence.
Yeah.
And it will definitely be different than the collective narrative. And that is a good thing.
Very much so. Yeah. All of this refines. It makes me think of, we had these business chats for a while, and I would take notes and Miriam would write her own notes, and we'd talk about things separately. We'd pull things through separately. We'd pull things through together. We'd check in. What's here? And Miriam would be like, I'm feeling this thing in like January-ish. And I'd write down January. I finally made a to-do list. I finally came back to to-do list. It's been 2.5 years that I've had since I've had a to-do list, because for a while I just needed to let go of the fucking to-do list and trying to systematize everything. But I'm finally coming back to the place, but it's like a channeled to-do list, and I'm looking at things and I'm like, okay, what's really here? And like, what's here today? Okay, what's here? What do I need to keep a pulse on? And then what's way later that I kind of know the dates on, or I kind of know things on, like, let's put those there too, just so I remember them. When I went to go write and make that to-do list and kind of looked at all of the things we've been pulling through, we've been consistent the entire time. Our timelines, our pricing, our everything. And we would always forget. We'd hash things out again. Okay, what are you feeling for pricing for the mastermind? What are we feeling for start date? What are we feeling for the number of people? We got the exact same numbers every time.
Yeah.
Every single time. And it's crazy. It makes no sense. It makes no logical sense. But we would always pull through the same things. And I think now, about 3 years in of me channeling and about a year of us doing this business together, I feel like we're finally at a place where the messages that are coming in aren't just rest and do this one thing. You know, it's not just like, it's not just watch Netflix, rest, relax. It's, you're going to be building this thing within the next few weeks, about 6 months out. There's this thing. This is the mastermind. Here's the container. Here's what it looks like. Here's the pricing. Here's the CEO course. You're not going to run this live anymore. It's going to turn into a product. And then there's another program that's going to come online in January. There's some physical events that are come online in January. We have this whole timeline of events that we're starting to feel into, and we're pulling it all through. That level of specificity and data and business plans, all available to everyone. I believe every single person has that depth of soul truth.
For sure.
But you know why nobody's talking about this?
Why?
Because to get there, steps 1, 2, and 3 are watch Netflix, rest, relax, and be heavily confronted, and stop doing all of the things you think you have to do because they take you in a different direction.
Yes.
And I would say 95%, probably more, but I'm being generous here. I'd say 95% of people are doing all of these detours. I know I did for my whole life. My whole life until my channel opened and I finally started to see the way reality works. I took all these detours. Oh, I shouldn't name the business the thing I want to. I should name it this thing that's better for SEO that my brother says is a good idea. Oh, I shouldn't do this. I should do this in a slightly different way. Oh, I should be a freedom coach or like a liberation coach or like and then I'll use these things. Oh yeah, I should do this model. I should do this thing. When you get tired of doing everybody else's strategy but your own, you come to us.
Call us. I was going to say, call me.
Because you have your soul truth and it is so specific. It is specific beyond anything that I've ever been able to conceptualize or map out for myself. And it is so dialed. It is smooth. It is considerate of my own ability to bring things through. It's considerate of my own feelings and limitations and my own edge. All of these dates and everything we've ever done. This is the smoothest business I've ever run in my entire life.
Yeah,
It
this
is
is the first one I've ever run.
I know, because you just start out of the gate dialed. That's just who you are.
Well, I don't know. I took a detour in my 20s when I worked in corporate America.
But yeah, your whole entrepreneurial journey has been this, which is amazing. But I would say for most entrepreneurs out there who are coming to us, they haven't been. They didn't start there. They got swept up just like me.
Yeah. Well, it's easy because like I noticed when we were in Massachusetts specifically, I remember this time I was feeling so insecure and I was like comparing myself to everybody else. And I didn't understand why we were in Massachusetts and stuck and miserable and all these things. And then I really bought into the like marketing lingo. And I was like reading people's posts and I was like, oh, maybe I need to work with them. Like maybe I need to work with them. Maybe I need to. And like really what was there is like, no. You just need to trust yourself. You're good. You're solid. You're good. Go fucking water the plants at the garden. That's all that's here for you right now. Sleep, hang out with your mom, water the garden, hang out with David, go to McDonald's, get a coffee for $1 because you don't have any money.
You know what's actually pretty fucked up?
What?
Is that all of these programs and all the marketing, they're to get that pain to go away, but the pain doesn't go away. When you do that thing and do that system, the pain that brought you there in the first place doesn't actually resolve. You're just doing all of that stuff on top of that pain.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think at some point you realize that and you go, holy shit, I still feel the exact same way. It's the exact same pain that I was sold to last time. I'm trying to buy this other program because this pain still hasn't resolved.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is then when I look at the people in our containers and when I look at our own journey, that pain is actually really simple.
Yeah.
It's so simple. It's the thing I get excited about when people shit come up because I'm like, that is your core pain. That's your core soul trend right now. That is the circumstance that's being orchestrated for you to be able to feel right now. That is the top to do from your soul is to notice what's there. And when you go into that pain, it's always so simple.
Yeah.
It's, man, I really need to rest and just like stop trying to do all of these things and transition out of this business and out of all this bullshit. And it's really hard. And I think I'm going to die. Yeah. But my soul's telling me that I won't. What do you think I should do? And we go, trust that soul. And then they don't die. And they stop doing all the bullshit and they have bandwidth.
And then they show up the next week.
And we're like, cool, what else is coming in? They're like, you know what? There's this thing that's coming in that's bigger than the thing I was doing before that scares the shit out of me because it's so big and requires me to be rich, famous, and a totally different version of myself with like fine clothing and like I'm not that person. And we're like, yeah, you are. We've seen it from the beginning. It's so obvious. That's exactly who you are. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And it's just, it's funny, you know, there's this whole
good.
like, it's
so
deprogramming and it's relaxing and it's all the things that are so confronting, but it's the only thing we can do.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's our only option. We can detour and we can try to escape it, but that pain isn't going away. That discomfort isn't going away. You can't manifest it away. You can't strategize it away. You can't plan it away. You can't science it away. You can't philosophize it away. That pain is there because that pain is your evolutionary edge. And when you dial into that, not if, when you dial into that, because at some point it gets so ridiculous that it's the only thing you can dial into. When that consumes the entirety of your awareness enough for you to be with it, you realize, holy shit, this soul truth is actually really simple. And I'm willing to do it. And I'm willing to say yes to it. And then everything shifts, everything changes, and that pain goes away. And that discomfort goes away. That's life. Conflict and resolution by listening to our soul truth, not everything else.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I had a little burp there.
I know. It was cool.
Things are moving. Things are moving.
Channel complete. Transmission received. Transmission complete.
Imagine if I burped every time I was finished channeling.
It's really good. Yeah. I fully agree.
Yeah.
It's what we do. I feel so grateful to get to do this and be this for people in their world, like be the beacon of truth and home and soul alignment. And you know, when people come to us and they're like, just all the stories of like, well, so-and-so I should do it this way. It's like, well, do you want to? And they're like, no. It's like, well, then don't.
Do you think it's going to work? No, I don't.
It's like, perfect. Okay. So that next, what else is here? And it's like, well, like a long time ago, my dad said this to me one time. It's like, okay, cool. Do you believe that? No. It's like, okay, cool. Okay. Next thing. It's like, keep going, keep going.
And then I close my eyes and channel B and he's like, all right, let's cut all these collective energetics and free and liberate you from all the...
That meditation is worth the investment of the program alone, disconnecting from the collective. That meditation is so powerful.
Week 3, right? Yeah. Week 3, disconnecting from the collective and past mentors and the larger collective.
Yeah. It's
because
pretty
there's
awesome.
energetic components to this, of course.
Oh
Of
yeah.
course.
I mean, you could do it on your own. You could say, I disconnect from my past mentors.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do it in the confines, in the construct of our container, confines, that sounds like they're like
Yeah. When
tied
you're
up.
in our container. Yeah.
It's like a total, yeah, it's just,
Yeah.
there's such an energetic component. My God,
Yeah.
it's so real and so true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This last round, like after every call, we were all going out for ice cream, but we didn't know it until one of us talked about it. And then like another woman was like, oh yeah, I've been going out for ice cream too after the calls. It was like, oh yeah, me too. And like, oh yeah, me too. And then like pictures of ice cream pop up in the group, in the Facebook group. It's like, oh my God, we were all eating ice cream after the calls. Like there's definitely,
It's just that feeling. It's like when you're like snuggled up in a cabin and like you're just a kid and you can do whatever you want. You can have whatever you want, you know? And it's like, I'm actually good. Like it really says something that after our calls, people go get ice cream. Not after our calls, people go scramble and do work.
Oh, that's
because after
true.
every other coaching call I've ever been on, I would scramble, do work, and stress out.
Oh yeah,
I'd
you
try
would
to
do all the
implement the new
strategies
things.
that they just talked about.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with ours, but the strategies to talk about are like really following and trusting the energy. It's so cool that people feel relaxed enough. They're like, you know what?
sleep.
What I'm feeling, I need to go sleep and then eat some ice cream.
Yeah, even, I mean, on round 1, when we did CEO the first time, people fell asleep on that call.
Funny.
Yeah, you ended it with a meditation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and people fell right to sleep.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. I woke up the next day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a 4 p.m. call.
Yeah.
The next day.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, the energetic component is so real. I feel really fortunate and lucky. Like I think about it a lot, especially on my long walks to yoga. I think about this life and everything, and like it feels so good. It feels so good to be doing this work in the world and knowing how many people we've helped so far and knowing how many people we get to continue to help, and just to remind them that they're already good.
Yeah.
You know, everyone that's listening to this podcast, like you're doing awesome. Like you are. You
I
just
hope that's
are.
already been abundantly clear through the whole episode.
Yes. Yes. Like you just are. It wouldn't make sense that you're not.
Yeah.
Like you've never been bad or wrong. Like you've always been spot on. And then there's like, I don't know, we orbit into your world and it's not for nothing.
Yeah.
You know, like there's obviously resonance here. You wouldn't be listening every week.
Yeah.
Right at 7 a.m. on Fridays.
And we talk about things, and I love plugging things because I think it's kind of funny because we watch a lot of YouTube, and
Oh, we watch so much
they always
YouTube.
say the URLs in their videos and even their like music videos
so
and stuff. It's
fun.
hilarious. So secondparadigm.com/CEO. Link in bio. So one, I think we're products of that culture a little bit. So I love plugging things. I think it's hilarious.
I love plugging too.
But at the end of the day, like I know that there's a co-creation happening between all of our souls right now.
Oh yeah.
And that our people, their souls are already calling them here, and we're just reminding them and giving them the sign up link so
like,
they know what it actually is.
Right.
You know.
And they're like, damn it, Miriam. Yeah. When I message them, I'm like, hey, I feel like you're supposed to be in our course. And they're like,
I've looked at the sales page 8 times. I know. Just haven't brought myself to do it yet.
I'm like, I know too. That's the thing. I got the ping too. I'm just as psychic as you.
Yeah. And like, but can you do a payment plan? I'm like, yeah, the option's
Of
already
course.
there. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Gets to be easy. Yeah. It's really fun. It's really fun operating from this space and deep trust and knowing and yeah. There's just a calm and a peace about it. And like you get to run your business this way too. You know, this isn't just our thing. Like this is just a whole new way of being in the world. What?
It's just funny that like I've just been reflecting more and more on our work. I feel like I'm finally in a place where I can hold both of them at the same time, where I'm like, oh yeah, that's what everyone's doing and this is what we're doing, you know. It takes a while to like build the bandwidth to even see both of them at the same time. It's like I can see and feel the difference, but there's really something there. It just always makes me smile, you know. It's just funny that there's so much focus on marketing and sales scripts and making emotionally compelling arguments for your program.
And your branding needs to be a certain way.
Making the button the right color to evoke a certain emotion. Put the red button or like put the blue and then they'll trust you more. And it's like, God, what the fuck?
I know.
It's so ridiculous. We're creating a co-creation here and we're just reminding people of the thing we're already doing.
They already know.
Yeah.
Is the thing.
And the people they just come. It's actually not about convincing people to take your products and service. It has nothing to do with that. I would say 95% of the work is actually you just becoming that version of yourself and saying yes to it. That's the hardest thing, is even being willing to start going down that timeline, being willing to be that version of yourself, because that's where all the shit comes up. And I think that's the conflict that's there. That's the pain we were talking about that never goes away until you deal with it. It's like, oh, I don't think I can do this anyway. And I don't even know if I want to be on this planet. And like, I kind of hate it here. You know, like you get down to the real stuff and then it's like, cool, like what's the truth about that? And then their soul speaks into it. And when that shifts, when that rewrites, I mean, everything just starts moving. It's everything.
I know. I was reflecting too on the way like that we do business and how we've been doing it, even at the very, very beginning when we were like hopping on phone calls for people that were interested in our mastermind, and we were saying no. Like we said no to more people than we said yes to. I know.
And we had like no money.
Yeah. So you would think, right? Like these people are willing and wanting to pay us money and wanting to work with us. And this isn't some like exclusivity type thing. Like it's just, we just didn't feel the energy there.
There wasn't actually a soul. Yeah.
Like all that was there was to hop on that call, and that was it. Yeah. And I had an interesting experience last week. I was talking with a woman. She was interested in my one-on-one mentorship, and we got on the phone, and like it was like that was it, like at least for now. And it just felt really cool to just honor that and honor, because I'm sure it'll come around again, but like to do it from a place of like, oh my God, I should totally sign a client and make more money and like that's just not what was there. Like what was there was that phone call. It was super rich. It was packed with so much goodness. And like, that's it. Like, just let it be, you know, give it space, give it time, let it breathe. And like, let's revisit again and see what's really here.
Yeah. Let it be ideal.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Because you can force it. And it wouldn't have been bad.
Oh, totally.
It great. She got so much, so much value. And that call was amazing.
Yeah.
The package would have been great. It would have worked out financially. Yes. Everything would have worked, but it wouldn't have been ideal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can feel that soul truth.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't do that. And the other woman that I'm working with for one-on-one mentorship, like it's like time. It makes sense. It's like easy. It's like, oh, yep, we know this. And we're just kind of like, okay, let's do it. Like we're both like, and it's really cool. Yeah. And I love it. And like,
even our first ever mastermind client, we hopped on the phone at the very beginning, you know, and he was like, oh yeah, like we were like, hey, so like, what are we doing here?
You know, because they listen to the.
Oh well, I mean, I didn't think it'd be that obvious. Now they do, but anyway, he's like, I just know that I'm supposed to be in this. It was like one of the first things he said. And I was like, oh my God, that is so cool.
It was awesome. Yeah. He told us every reason why he should be in it.
Yeah, and we're like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then I channeled B, and then B extended the invitation.
That's cool.
So it was the best. That always happens.
And he was like, "Oh my God, this is powerful. I feel like I'm getting married." And we were like, "I know,
us too.
I know." We were like, "Wow."
We just said no to 3 people, even though we wanted the money. But like, thank God you exist. Yeah. It's like the ultimate confirmation.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It's trusting that like alignment with the like there is a real nuance to listening to the energy and like having your pulse on it. And I think over the last however many years, I don't know how long. I know.
Dialed in.
Like even we went to Fry to look at backpacks and shoes and stuff, the store Fry.
Yeah.
And there was the sales girl came up and I was like, oh, she obviously works off commission because she just wouldn't shut up. And I was like, does she not read energy?
Did you know that Fry is one of the oldest companies in the country?
I walked away. I was like, I'm not available. I'm not available to talk. I just didn't want to talk. It was fake. It was fabricated. It was a script. I'm like, might as well have just been a bot. No wonder why Andrew Yang's talking about automation. You could fucking put a little like, you know,
television screen with a DVD in
it. Yeah. Essentially. Just build a bot. Did you know? And I'm just like, oh my God. Anyway, that's a story for another day. Or not, but the whole automation thing would be cool to talk about.
Yeah,
but
there's lots of topics coming.
I know. Bing, bing, bing. But yeah.
What are you feeling for what's like the main thing that's here for today? Just those business have-tos, right?
I'm not good at tying stuff up in a bow.
Oh, that's okay.
What I feel is that if you're like, oh my God, I can't fucking keep doing business this way. This is insane. Like, it's not working anymore. I'm kind of admitting that to myself right now. I'm kind of admitting that like this actually isn't what I want to be doing. What I'd rather be doing is a less of all of this and like more travel. And I'd rather be doing more like in-person stuff. I don't know, whoever you are, this is who you are. You know exactly who you are. And you're like, oh my God, Miriam. How do you know? And like, there's just this like sense of like just having to come to terms with like, okay, yeah, this isn't it. This is not it. I know I could do this for probably 5 more years, but this isn't it. And like, fuck, my soul is calling me into something else and I am terrified and I don't know what it is. I kind of have a feeling of what it is, but I don't even want to say it. I've never told anyone and I feel like I don't want to tell anybody. And I hate that you're fucking saying this right now because I know that this is me.
Maybe I'll pause it. Maybe I'll turn it off. I don't know. I gotta go.
Oh, exit screen. And then it starts playing on your Bluetooth in your car and you're like, damn it, Miriam. But
oh my God, imagine if right there it paused and then it popped up.
Oh my God, that'd be ridiculous. Amazing. So yeah, I think that's it. Like, it's just like, it's this knowing that like you're really here to do something big and the most beneficial thing, and you fucking know this, you like feel it in your pussy is how you know. You're like, fuck, I know that like I need to follow my soul's truth and I haven't been. And that is so annoying. And I don't even want to admit that to myself or anyone else. But that's what's here. I know I'm supposed to fucking work with you guys. Like, that's the feeling I feel from whoever this person is.
Yeah.
It's like this deep, it goes all the way through your whole body.
Yeah.
Knowing. Because I feel that way. When I feel soul truth, it goes, it's like, whoop, I'm like, oh, vagina tingles. Here we are.
And that's the business we're building here.
We're building a vagina tingle business.
Essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That'll be in the back of the shop.
It's so funny. It doesn't feel like this anymore, but
how are you so serious about vagina tingles?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know. I just feel calm.
Okay.
The biggest life decisions in my life where I was like, oh my God, I need to move to San Diego. And I was like, oh my God, I should join this fraternity. Like there were these like key moments where I was like, I need to do this. And I don't know why. It doesn't even make fraternity. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Those moments, the opening was there, and it was essentially like, do you want to do this? There was one where it was like sitting with the actual dude talking about the fraternity, and it was like, do you want to do this? The other one was like, oh, I need to go to San Diego. It was like this chill that went through my whole body, and then I felt my like PC muscles kind of pulsing, and I felt all this energy like right under my cock, and I was like, whoa, there's something here. It's like holy crap, it's like life, like it shoots back through your system.
Yes. Oh, I love that. So if we make your cock tingle or your pussy tingle, you should join us.
Yeah. I mean, if you feel like that about our courses, then it's because there's a soul contract here. There's a soul agreement. We're co-creating this.
Yeah.
Then you're one of the people that we check in with when we ask what we're creating here.
Yeah.
You're one of the people that we check in with when we ask what is the message and email or message or whatever, like what's here today.
Yep.
You're the one informing the creation of this business, which is literally why it's custom for you, which is literally why you feel this. Because we don't do anything else. There's so many people out there that say, oh yeah, that'll get you pretty far. Following your intuition will get you to like a few K a month. But if you really want to take it to the next level, then you got to do my systems and strategies. Man, I hate the diminishing of spiritual truth so much. I hate it. It's so terrible and disgusting and untrue. This is what we will be doing for the rest of our lives. This is what we'll be doing when the second paradigm is a household name and a multi-million-dollar brand. This is still what we'll be doing. Is all of the things we're creating will always be from this. It'll always be us asking what's here, what's true, what's dialed, pulling it through, channeling everything from these co-creations with these other souls. It'll always be the same things of us asking what's here and listening to our soul truth. Never will we just adopt some random strategies because it sounds good or because someone tells us we need to do it. Ever.
No,
Ever.
I can't. Does not compute.
And if you're listening to this, you don't have to either.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't. All right.
Okay, bye. Okay, love you.
Talk
Bye.
to you later. Link in description for all the things we talked about, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
This grounded existence led by soul where the world stands witness.
In my mind, I'm all alone, stuck in time, but in my soul, I always know I am more.